What's in your wallet?
I'm so old.
I'm going to give it a 1 out of 5 explosive hot dog carts.
Ritualistic blood magic.
Laser shooting chesty statues.
Don't watch movies unless we tell you to. Welcome, sports fans. It's
Oh, God.
Football with my best friend Phil, the football podcast where we talk about the latest and greatest sports and obviously the big game. We're going to go through it play by play tonight, live on tape.
Wait, this
Of
is
course.
European football, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
good.
European League of American Football.
Okay.
As always, I'm your quarterback, Phil Kessel, and I'm going to punt the ball over to Will Chotis, my best
Hey!
friend. Will, you're the starting liner.
I'm gonna catch
thing?
that punt with my hand and throw it in the hoop
Yes.
because I love me some football. My favorite part about football is when people get upset that Taylor Swift is there. And then they keep talking about it as if Taylor Swift is the one talking about Taylor Swift being there. But really, it's just them talking about Taylor Swift being there. And it's like, you know who would
I
notice
also
Taylor
love that
Swift
part.
here? You, if you hadn't brought it up in the first place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
times. Fun times in America.
Yeah. Well, let's double pass. That's 2 hands are each of our hands, 4 hands total
Mm-hmm.
on the ball. And then whoop, we pass the ball
Oops,
over
I
to
dribbled
our
a little bit.
kicker, Craig Norland. Craig,
Hey.
old golden toes Norland.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Yeah.
Guys, will I ever get tired of making the joke that I don't know anything about football?
Probably not.
Probably
No.
not. I have so much fun with it, and I know it's like at this point, like not fun.
Phil,
for
if you're
people.
anything, you are willing to beat a dead horse. That is, if I was to describe you, it would be that, yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
Mhm.
thank you, because you know what? Sometimes dead horses need to get beat. Anyways, so
No, finish your thought.
listen, I've never met a horse technically, and I've never met a dead horse
Found that
also technically.
both of those technicals are both of those technicalities are saying quite a bit, and I'm trying to figure out what direction they're going in.
I didn't meet. Okay, Jack is interrupting to say that I did meet a horse.
You met a
I just want to
horse.
say I didn't officially meet that horse. I don't remember its name. I didn't touch it. I didn't get within 15 feet because I was honestly a little bit scared.
They're big
And
animals.
also, Sheba was terrified.
Well,
It
So
was very funny.
is Jack just like off screen slightly
yeah,
waiting
she's-
for you to mess up?
Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but we pay her. She's a producer. She's to help keep Phil on track
Yeah, I
and
mean,
make sure he shows up on time. Yeah,
yeah,
she's
when
on
she
payroll.
was on all the episodes, people were like, "Yeah, we like Jack better than Phil." And that's kind of just like anytime I talk to people in real life, they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we like her better than
He's
you."
got
and
an
I'm like,
earpiece
"Yeah,
also
no,
in.
I know, but you don't have to tell me that."
Yeah, he made me spend a lot of money, like a lot of money on this like Bluetooth earpiece so that Jack could feed him lines, and he doesn't even use it.
It's a shame.
I do sometimes steal her jokes, and I do not give her credit, and
Yeah.
I will not apologize.
Yeah, So we're getting a little glimpse of what it's like to be married to Phil.
Mhm.
It's a nightmare. Or it's great. I don't know. I've never been married to me. I'm just me.
This is mine, and I won't be apologizing for it. Right? That's how I
Yeah.
run my marriage. Did you notice I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
run?
Yeah.
Wait,
That's-
who Phil? Who keeps correcting you?
My wife.
Thank you. Thank you for that opportunity to use these wonderful sound effects
you
that
were
I have.
you were so quick on the drop.
Yeah.
It took it. Well, you can just cut out the space in between.
No way.
Nope.
You could.
No way. Your
Pause.
I'm
shame.
assuming you wouldn't.
Your shame will be all over this. Wow.
So here's my thing. I didn't even watch the Puppy Bowl this year.
Oh, did you watch the Nickelodeon
No,
version
but I
of
love
the
that they
Super
did
Bowl.
that, and
I
I
know.
love that somewhere in that broadcast, SpongeBob came out as pro union. I think that's really fun. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
No, we ended up just playing video games, and then I kind of just forgot the entire day that the Super Bowl was happening. But
Yeah.
then everyone at work was talking about it, so I know all about it.
My wife is insistent on like giving my son positive childhood memories for some reason. And
Ugh,
so she
jeez.
keeps like every time there's like these like
Same.
cultural touch points like the Macy's Day Parade or whatever, she's always like, "We have to figure out how to watch this." And I'm like, "Why? Let it die."
You're the person who killed all these
Yeah.
Bennigans and all these sit-down places.
You're the
Only-
millennial they keep talking about.
Oh my God!
I-
You don't buy diamonds anymore.
I yeah. We really shouldn't
Diamonds,
be buying
man.
diamonds. It's a racket.
Yeah.
Nobody, no,
Yeah.
no, and don't buy fake diamonds either. Don't buy lab grown diamonds because it makes the industry for regular diamonds make more money.
Right, because then they can compare and up their prices because they can say, "Oh,
Yeah.
those are the fake ones. These are the real ones." Anywho,
Dismantle the whole thing.
big diamond aside, we did go to my parents to watch the game, and it was just like it was funny because like we like showed up and immediately we're like, "Okay, we got to go. Bedtime for the boys." So it was just like,
Oh my
right."
gosh!
Yeah.
So
Well,
you
not-
were there like
no.
how long?
No. We got there early, just to hang
Okay.
out with my parents. And then Jack did end up spending the night, so that was kind of fun for Jack, you know, and
Oh,
fun
nice.
for me because then I didn't have to put anybody to bed because Caitlin put Sean to bed, and I was just like, just standing in the middle of my living room, just kind of like with my hands in my pockets, just going like,
What do I do?
what do I do now? What is this? What is this? I was just like looking around, and the dog was just like staring at me, and I could tell she was scared because she'd never quite seen me like this before. Yeah.
Do you ever
Oh,
have those
Lucy.
times where you're like, I have some free time, I have time to myself, and you just don't know what to do,
Yeah.
and so you just waste time on your phone?
Yeah. Every time I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this hour and a half I'm going to have where there's no kids. Caitlin's out. And then I just like lie down on the couch. And even worse than that is you fall asleep. And you're like,
Oh, yeah.
son of a biscuit.
Oh, what a waste.
What a waste. God, I could sleep anytime. God damn
I'm not.
it.
I hate naps. So yeah, that is like the absolute worst
Yeah.
for me.
But yeah, no, I do that all the time. And I'm like, or I'll be like, I'm so excited to play a video game. And then I'll play a video game. And then everyone comes home and I have to stop. And I was like, that wasn't worth it at all. I should have done something else. Should have done anything else.
Something slightly more productive.
I love that. That's wonderful.
So, man, speaking of the big game,
And the toss in the pigskin.
toss in the pigskin. You've ever noticed that the pigskin, we say pigskin. This is actually a colloquialism because it's not actually
History
like,
lesson.
yeah, it's not actually a pig we're throwing around. See, it's called pigskin because back in the day we used to take the uniforms of cops and wrap them around the football.
Yes.
You know, and it was a pineapple back then. So it's a very historic thing calling it a pigskin. Anyways, like the pigskin nowadays, which is usually some sort of pleather, these are brown. And when I think of brown, something else always seems to come to mind, but I can't seem to figure out what it is. It's brown and leathery, and like footballs, I'm often sitting on them. Gosh, what is that called again?
Yeah. Craig.
Craig, I think you
Is
might
it-
know. It's on the
I-
tip
Is
of
it a
your...
Wait.
chair?
Oh,
Is it a
yeah.
chair?
That-
No.
That fits some of the description.
A bear?
Oh, I think
Well, no,
closer.
we're getting farther away.
Oh no,
Oh,
further away.
okay.
You
You don't sit on a bear.
Well, I do.
Watch only once, and then you're dead.
But man, I guess I'm just gonna move on because I can't think of what it's called. Oh well.
It's a wallet.
Oh, that's right. It's a segment where we reach deep into our best friend's pants and pull out some recommendations. It's what's in your wallet.
Do we have a theme song for this yet?
No.
We should get one of those old Capital One
Yeah.
music commercials and then cover that with lyrics about us.
I was thinking if I had any more talent, I would take every time Craig sighs and just try and turn it into a song with his different sighs.
Oh yeah, just like pitch bend it up and down to.
Yeah. but I have no talent. So, anyways, hey Craig, it's your
Yes.
favorite segment. Let's find out what's in that big fat and happy wallet you
Yeah,
got.
it's your birthday wallet.
Yeah. Hey. So
No, it isn't.
my birthday was last year.
Everyone's birthday was last year.
Not Brad's. Brad's was 9 days ago. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
Fair enough.
see?
Yeah, you got me there on a technicality.
but I guess it was also last year, so not technical anymore. So let's see. I have a video game that I finished and I liked a lot. It was Jedi Survivor. That is the sequel
Is
to
that where you
Fallen
get
Order?
put on an island with like 8 other people and you all have lightsabers and the last one alive wins?
Yeah, and it's just one adult and a bunch of younglings.
Oh, God.
And the one adult is Anakin Skywalker.
Oh man. That's a dark game.
Master Skywalker, what are we going to do?
The only thing we can do.
Kill all of you. My wife's pregnant and it's confusing. I don't know why I'm doing this.
My emotions.
I thought she was gonna die. Is she dead? No. Okay. Anakin, why?
So it's a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and also known as one of the few good Star Wars games lately,
Mm-hmm.
I would
Mhm.
say. Before that, it was probably like,
Rogue Squadron?
yeah, Rogue Squadron. I liked the original Battlegrounds or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Oh, Battlefront?
Battlefront,
Battlefront
Battlefront.
2 is awesome, and then not
Yep.
too much earlier than that. Did you ever play Jedi Knight? Jedi
Mm-mm.
Outcast, Jedi Knight.
Oh.
That was
No, I don't
Kyle-
think I
with
played that
Kyle
one.
Katarn. Yeah, Luke Skywalker was in it. That was like the coolest thing ever because
Um,
it took place after. Never mind.
So I had, it was, oh gosh, it was a CD-ROM game. That was my first Star Wars game, and it was like, Rogue Squadron, but not Rogue Squadron. It was basically, you had to go through Beggar's Canyon, and I'm pretty sure I never got past like the second level, but I played the first one a million times. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I could still play that in my sleep. I never owned the game until recently, but Shadow of
Colossus?
the Empire, yeah, Shadow of
Mordor?
the Colossus, Shadow of the Empire,
Oh.
I think it is what it was called. Did you guys play that one for 64?
No.
Oh man,
What? Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up because there was one that I played that I can never remember the name of. Were you
you're some rando.
okay? This
Yeah,
may
you're-
be the one that I've been trying to remember the name of and just never looked up
Yeah.
anything about it. Is there a level on a train?
Yes, and
yeah,
it's impossible.
absolutely. This is the one I was trying
Yep.
to think of. Yep.
Yeah, that was
Seems
one of my
really hard.
favorites. Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah. I also played Jedi Power Battles. That was my other favorite
Oh, I
one.
loved Jedi Power
That's
Battles.
the one where it was you played through episode 1 and you could play as Plo Koon and he had an orange lightsaber.
You love
And
Plo Koon.
My favorite. Yep.
Yeah, and
I always
Plo
played as
Koon
him.
became my favorite Jedi. And then when the movie happened and he didn't have an orange lightsaber, I was like, "This is bull. I'm going home." I'm going
Also,
home
they
right now.
killed him
All of us,
off in
we're all going
in
home.
episode 3. I was really pissed.
I was.
Did you cry?
No, I had a mug that Caitlin made. She found like this picture of Plo Koon like walking away from the destroyed ship, like alive.
Oh, nice.
And so she like painted it on a mug for me. And I was
Oh,
like, yes,
nice.
he lives. And then people would be like, what's that from? It's like, it's too hard to explain. Go away.
Oh,
Anyways,
man.
so how's that game? I
But-
played the first one and I liked it fine.
Yeah, so it's the same kind of thing. It's a Souls like
Mhm.
game, where if you go to a rest point, all the enemies come back.
Yeah.
So the beginning of the game, it doesn't really make a difference because it's pretty linear,
Yeah.
but then it quickly turns more into a Metroidvania, but like a open world. Because the
Interesting.
first game, there's a lot of different planets you go
Yeah,
to.
it's very
and it-
Metroidvania meets Dark Souls.
Yeah, but the second one is more like there's only like 2 bigger planets and 2 smaller ones, and so the locales aren't very diverse, but you have a lot to explore
Mm.
in those places. So there's a lot of little missions that you can do, but it's definitely ramps up in the hardness as you go on. Pretty early on, I knew you're going to do that. Pretty early on, you can do what seems like a very easy side mission. You end up battling the Rancor, which I died
Yeah.
a lot.
So in the very first game, like once you beat like the first level, it's like, all right, you can either go to this place, which is clearly the place you're supposed to go, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
or you can go to the big red scary death planet. And me being a completist who like loves doing side quests was like, well, let's go to the big red scary one first. And so I just like went there and it was just like impossible. And I got as far as I could go. So I actually had very early on, I had the dual lightsaber, which is something you get
Yeah.
like later on in the game is like, so I like was, so like I got to the end there and I was like, oh, they're like, actually you can't go any further. You need a power you don't have. And I'm like, oh, well, me then, I guess, Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I had to
And
go
it's a lot of that. Like you need certain abilities to get any farther, but something that people might like and some might not is most of the collectibles are skins,
Mm.
which is like customizations, not people's skin.
Like
That would be
Burritos.
very weird.
Yeah, I was gonna.
So,
You get to skin all the villains.
Yeah.
That's what we've all wanted to do since the first movie. So
Mhm.
So it's really funny because like playing Monster Hunter made me realize like how much I love the just dressing my character in different outfits. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
Yeah.
like I'm like this definitely does it for me. But the thing that I liked about Monster Hunter is like the outfits are connected to stats. So it's like
Yeah.
but you could find ways around it. But yeah, I am somebody who's like it's like what all it is a t-shirt? Oh, let's put it on and see. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a
It's
pretty
just
cool
like,
t-shirt.
oh, do you want Cal Kestis to have a mullet? I'm like, yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And so that's a little disappointing for me, but you have basically all the powers. So there's not a lot of unlocking or upgrading. You have your usual upgraded skills.
So they
And
don't do
there's a
some
couple of
weird thing
perks.
where he like gets his power drained right at the beginning,
Yep,
like they do
no,
for
they-
every single Kingdom Hearts game, where it's like
Mhm.
Sora somehow loses all of his powers, and you're just like, all right, whatever. It's a video game. I mean, narratively, this is nonsense, but so's the rest of this.
My favorite, the one that does unlock, you eventually get a combo lightsaber and blaster. That's
Oh,
really
cool.
fun. And then you also get Kylo Ren's kind of lightsaber.
Nice.
And so you treat it more like a broadsword, which is really fun because it's definitely is more heavier attacks, but it's a lot slower. So it's one of those things where it works for some villain or some enemies, but not others. And so you kind of have to be strategic about what you do, because I often don't block or be careful, and so I get
perfect.
wrecked pretty quickly in some of these games.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's a very fun game. The story's really good. Like you wouldn't expect it to be, but I was very invested in the story. And I love this one character I won't talk about. So anyway.
Is it Yoda?
Oh God, yeah. I wish he showed up. I was
The
waiting
green
for them to
frog
be
man?
like throwing Grogu in there or something to
It take
like,
w-
make
the,
it
the
more
games,
relevant.
They take place between episode 4 and no, yeah, 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's at the same time as the Mandalorian.
No, Mandalorian takes place. Oh yeah, no, you're right. No, wait, no. Mandalorian takes place 6 after 6, right?
Is it?
Yeah, because Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker
it
is
is.
there. He's in charge of and Ahsoka's there too.
Oh, that's right.
Well, she
Okay.
would have been there. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Well, Grogu is still around, so
Okay.
he's 50 years old or something.
Mhm.
Just a little baby.
All right, Phil.
Will.
What?
No, Will.
No, me?
Will.
No, me?
Yeah, you. Yeah,
Okay.
you. No, you.
So I like really I have nothing. I'm doing nothing new in my life. I'm rewatching things, and every time I watch a movie, it's like some Disney garbage that my son wants to watch, you know. And then Caitlin keeps saying
Mhm.
like, "Should we like hang out?" And I'm like, "No, I want to sulk in the basement." No, I'm just. But uh, no. So I guess my recommendation, and Craig, you kind of made me think of it. I've also been playing a lot of Elden Ring
Mm.
lately, which is a Souls like. It's made by
The
From
Olden
Software.
Ring.
And if you ask me, this one is the most accessible of all the Elden Rings. If you've always been like, or not Elden Rings, the Dark Souls, because the thing,
Elden Ring's the most accessible Elden Ring.
yeah, of the
Yeah.
one, it's the one. But like you have a like so in the other games, you're like kind of going down a very linear path, and you like have to fight bad guys, and then you die, and you lose all your experience, right? And the only way to level up is when you stop at these fires, right? So that's the gameplay loop that becomes very addicting, is because you go and you lose all your runes, and you're like, son of a cracker, I gotta go get those back, you know. And so you got to try another run and be really careful and get your runes, and then if you
Mhm.
finally get to another, like or and then maybe you can double back, and then you double back, you go back, and you level up your character, and it's incremental, but you know, so two things are happening. One, you're learning how the game works better every time you do it, and second, you're actually making your character better. So if you're like me and you're terrible at video games,
I am that way.
yeah, it's like a slow, it sort of feels like I'm actually getting better. And yeah, anyways, so I find these very fun. Elden Ring, this is the third time I've tried it. And I realized the reason why I stopped playing before is because I never used a shield. Like I was like, I know what I'll do. This is the game that everyone says you're supposed to take your time and be very methodical. Both times I'm gonna be a dual knife fasty guy who just runs in and wrecks everybody like a glass cannon character.
Mhm,
And then I
mhm,
just
mhm.
died constantly. I'm like, this game isn't any fun. I think it's broken.
Yeah. It
Anyways,
must be broken.
but what makes this
Uh,
game even more fun than the regular ones is that like you also have a horse, like a magical horse you can just jump on whenever. So
Aw.
like let's say you're like walking and you see an encampment of bad guys and they kill you and you're like, "Oh no, I lost all my runes." But then you're like, "But there's Torrent." So then you hop on Torrent and you just run in past all the slow bad guys, grab your runes and run out and you're good. So, in that way
I
it's
need
brilliant.
you to just come over and hold my hand while I play because I am just so bad at these games.
yeah.
I think you'd actually be worse if Will was holding your hand. I think you need
It's
both
true.
Oh,
hands
You
to
do
that's
need both
play.
your hands, unless you play like I did in my original playthrough and only use fast, quick attacks and die constantly, because I didn't really. I'm like, so like this time I was playing, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be a stick and board guy. You know what I mean? Sword and board guy. And I
Yeah.
like came up and the first bad guy like hit me and I blocked it and I was like, that didn't do any damage. Why am I just now realizing that's what a shield does? And I was just like, oh, I'm an
you
idiot.
leave there. You know, it took a while,
but
but
it is one of those games where like it's crazy ugly but also beautiful at the same time. It is one of the weirdest looking games ever. There's like giant golden trees everywhere. It's like gorgeous, and like every monster is completely different and horrifying in its own way. It is really just kind of a very cool aesthetic as well. And the world is like super like confusing and doesn't really like make sense logically, you know? Like it reminds me of like when I read like, oh man, what were all those like a swiftly tilting planet. What else was that?
Wayside School is falling up.
No, that's not the one. Oh my gosh. Why can't I remember the very first one in the series? It's got the centaur on it.
Animorphs?
No. Hold on. I'm just going to look this up.
You talking about the Hork-Bajir?
Wrinkle in Time?
A Wrinkle in Time. Yes, thank you. I read the first couple books in that, and like they're just like they like bend your mind as far as like how reality should work. And it sort of reminds me of like Elden Ring kind of reminds me of that. Like there's like the first big boss you face is like a guy who's just like trying to make himself more powerful, so he's just like grafted other human beings onto him. So he's this like big nightmare hand monster, but like with a face, and it's just like, this place is the worst. This is terrifying. You know? I don't know. It's really cool. It is. I don't know. If you don't like video games, definitely don't play this one. But like,
Yeah.
if you're
What a recommend.
It's a terrible recommendation if you don't like video games.
well, this is why I've kind of tried to not do video games, because like I feel like I'm like, hey, so you know how most people don't play video games, but you know that's growing, but like maybe about 50% of people play video games, right? So only about like 50% of that 50% are interested in the same kind of video games I'm playing, and of that 50% of the 50%, about 10% are playing the type of games that I'm playing within that very small amount. So it's like, hey, everybody, you guys want to play Ys 8? Y'all playing Ys 8?
Do we have a cricket sound effect?
Just me playing Ys 8 with Adult Christian? Nope, just me. So it's usually
Yeah. The words you said don't mean anything to me at all.
Yes. You know how you spell Ys 8?
Let me guess.
Y''S.
That was not what I was going to guess.
And then the number 8. Because it's the 8th one in the game.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all makes perfect sense
Yeah.
now. I'm right on board.
Uh-huh. I think Ys 7 was a little better. The Lacrimosa of Dana, but that's fine.
Yeah. I often talk about the Lacrimosa of Dana.
Okay, Phil, for love of God, start talking.
Yeah. So I think there's been a trend recently where people talk shit about Netflix. And I think a lot of it is earned. We've done it. Like Netflix has changed a lot. And recently, like a lot of their content has gotten either worse or just like they've dropped stuff that they shouldn't have dropped. But they do have a lot of international stuff, which is kind of cool. So I watched 2 movies recently. You guys get to choose which one you want to hear about. One is Norwegian and one is South Korean.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
I'll vote for Norwegian.
I'm voting for South
Okay.
Korean, so you know.
I'll just do both then.
All right.
Okay.
Oh crap.
I walked you right into my trap. So the Norwegian one was called Viking Wolf, which sounds silly.
Isn't that just like Beowulf?
I mean, maybe.
Okay.
It's just
not
a werewolf
Beowulf.
movie. But it's in it takes place in Norway, which
No,
is
Beowulf
pretty
means
cool.
Beowulf? No. What does Beowulf mean? No, sorry. Got
I don't know. I don't what I know. I don't speak Beowulf. I don't speak Old English. Is it French?
No.
Are you
It's
sure?
old. It's old English.
Yeah, that's what I said the first time.
Yeah, but then you said, "Is it French?" And so I said no to that.
What, isn't Old English just the same as French?
You're asking me?
I don't
I'm
know.
on Wikipedia right now.
Anyways, it's in Norway. This family moves to like a new. They moved from Sweden to Norway after the death of the father, and then the girl, the daughter, gets attacked and then turns into there's a whole thing with like. It's honestly, it's just like I don't know how to describe a werewolf movie in any other terms than it's like every other werewolf movie. But this one was good. I had a fun time watching it. I thought it was great. Fitz did not like any of the scenes with the wolves in it.
Really? Does Fitz watch
Yeah.
TV?
Yeah, he does, which
Wow.
she would never watch TV,
Yeah.
so it's really weird to have a dog that watches TV now.
Lucy has only ever watched TV when we were watching The Jungle Book, and there was a scene with all the wolves at the beginning when they were doing like a big trial, the live action one. And so she was just like staring at the television the whole time, and I was just like, Lucy, can you see that? I always just assumed it was just like bright nonsense to you, so you never noticed what it was. Yeah.
No, it's I mean, again, there's like not much to say about this one. It's like it's just a werewolf movie, but I really enjoyed it. I had a fun time watching it. The scenery's gorgeous. It made me want to go to Norway more than I already did, which is a lot. So give that one a watch if you got the time.
Do you guys ever have a problem when watching werewolf movies and they're like turning into the werewolf and you're like, I don't really see what the big deal is. It seems kind of fun.
Yeah, it seems kind of
You know, and everyone's like,
awesome.
I don't want to be this way anymore. And you're like, this is not relatable at all.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to be a wolf just for like a little
Like
bit?
the biggest heartbreak of my life was when people would ask me as a kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I would say a dog. And then they were like, I don't know what else to tell you, buddy, but you can't be a dog when you grow up. And I was like, well, why even do anything then?
Yeah, I'm sorry that they told you that, because
Yeah.
if you put your mind to it, you can be anything,
Well,
including a dog.
I know this is a bit, but I am gonna say that American Werewolf in London makes it look very painful
it's true.
when he changes.
Yeah, I mean, it never looks fun when they change, but then you get to be a wolf for a little bit, and that
That's
seems
true.
like it's, worth it a little bit.
Yeah, and you also get to kill all your loved ones, and who doesn't want to do that?
It's like every once in a while you're just like, what if I was just a wolf?
What
and
if I just
ate
killed all
everyone
these
around
people
me?
around me?
What if I just
Yeah.
ate
Then it would
everyone
only
in
be
close
me.
proximity?
Will, I'm getting a lot of weirdness from you tonight. Are you okay?
There's a weird energy coming from you.
I have a fever.
Okay, that
Perfect.
explains it.
So give that one a watch. The other one I watched is a South Korean movie called Badland Hunters. This was great. I loved this one.
Is this also
Um,
about werewolves?
No, it is not.
Dang
It is a like dystopian future in like an apocalyptic wasteland. And you're following this guy who has this mysterious past that they never explain, but he's like a really badass fighter. And it's cool.
Okay.
And you follow him trying to rescue one of the people in the town that he lives in that got kidnapped by.
So it's a cowboy movie.
Yeah, it's me. Every movie I like is a Western.
It was or a samurai movie, though.
Yeah.
Koreans, I don't know. They didn't have samurai, but whatever.
But they get kidnapped by somebody from their village gets kidnapped by these gangsters working for a mad scientist who's trying to make humans immortal in this like weird post-apocalyptic world. But it just kind of turns them into like, I don't know, weird kind of zombie-ish things, but it also just like he keeps killing people, but they live in this like hotel not projects, but like English, what's the English one? It's just like a big apartment complex.
Okay.
Anyways, so they live in this the mad scientist is in this like big apartment complex that like everyone is told, oh, we need kids, we're trying to build the future. And so these parents bring their kids there, and then the parents have to work in like the basement floors, and then they never get to see their kids again. And it's a whole
Jesus.
thing. But then this guy that we're following goes to rescue the girl from his village, and the action in this movie is super fun. The jokes are like pretty fun. There's like really good trash talk. It's very, very, very B movie, but like not. No, yeah, I mean it feels B movie, but like lovingly, like they intended for like a kind of fun movie.
It's
fun.
It's hard
Good words.
to do that tongue-in-cheek B movie thing because I think a lot of people try to do it and it comes off too winking, like, hey, we know we're being silly.
I hate that. That is like one of my least favorite things. That's why I don't like Joss Whedon, because it's too pithy, and it's too like, hey guys, look at how funny I am. Wink, wink, wink at the camera, everyone. That's my take. I know it's a hot take. Everyone hates me for it. Don't talk about it. We don't need to get into it. Anyways,
Let's
a lot
talk
of movies
about Zack
do.
Snyder too.
Well, I mean, he's a himbo auteur, and we love it. We stand that. But yeah, I feel like it's a really hard needle to thread of like campy but not too campy.
Right.
And while also like this one had really cool action. The guy is in the like main guy is in Train to Busan, which I have not seen, but I would really like to see now because I've heard really good things about that movie. Also South Korean, but I think I'm gonna try and stick it out with Netflix for a little bit. You know, watch some more international stuff. When it gives you like your top categories, mine is comedy, horror, and international.
Yeah. I mean,
It's a pretty fun mix.
I think Netflix really, for a while, was doing great with its like, original content, and like it seems like a cool pipeline for a movie that doesn't like if I was to make a movie that didn't feel like it was going to do super well in the like
Standard commercial
standard
theater
commercial
space.
theaters and stuff, like it seems like a good outlet for stuff like that. The problem I'm having with Netflix lately is that it has adapted that sort of like tech sort of mentality of let's break all the rules, let's destroy the industry and profit. But then they're just sort of like standing there going like, it's like Uber, who's like destroyed all the cabs and stuff. And then now they're like, now we're all stuck with it because, and now Disney's like going like, well, we're going to do the Netflix thing. And then now Disney's like, hey, Netflix, how did you make money doing this? And Netflix is like, we've never made money ever. And they're like, oh, wait, why are we doing this then? And it's like, let's cancel everything. And WB's like, it's all on fire already. I've burned down everything. Should I have done that? Is that what you did, Netflix? WB is so it's insane that right these days.
Yeah.
It's just like they're like, we'll make a whole movie. I know. Guys, did you see this awesome film called The Producers by Mel Brooks? Well, I took all the wrong lessons from it. And so we're just going to burn down all of our things for the insurance money. They did that with Batwoman, and this new Coyote.
Coyote.
Wiley
They brought that one back though.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they got rid of the new Scoob, the Christmas themed Scoob movie. That was the other one.
Oh, well, still, it's just like what on earth is going on over there?
Speaking of houses.
Speaking of things growing out of control.
Oh, you got it.
We watched a movie.
Yeah, we did.
We watched Color Out of Space, which is a 2019 American science fiction Lovecraftian horror film directed and co-written by Richard Stanley, based on the short story The Color Out of Space, spelled with a U, by H.P. Lovecraft. It stars Nicolas Cage, Jolie Richardson, Elliot Knight, Madeline Arthur, and Tommy Chong. It's 111 minutes long. I saw a couple sources about how much money it cost. It was anywhere between $6 to $12 million, which feels like a large discrepancy. But
yeah,
what do I know?
Either one number or double that number.
I'll never see that much money as long as I live. It only made $1 million. Not surprised by that. How do you think this movie is sitting on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm gonna say not great. 63.
Typically, Craig, that's when you talk.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'll do 76%.
Phil, what did you say again?
63.
Okay. Craig's got it. 86. It's certified fresh.
Wow.
With an
Okay.
82.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming one person saw this and really liked it. All right, Phil, you picked this movie for us to watch. Why?
Yeah, that's part of why is that reaction. So I had seen this before. This is a genre I love, although I've been having trouble with it lately, but it's just overload. I love Nick Cage. I think we had just watched Mandy recently.
Mm-hmm.
And this was
your
bunch of the same crew.
I'm pretty sure this was your recommendation on the Mandy episode. Maybe.
That feels right.
Because I recently re-listened to the Mandy episode when we did the Beyond the Black Rainbow, and I'm pretty sure you mentioned Color Out of Space. So either you recommended it there or it came up that you had already seen it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, either way, I think it was somewhere around there that I had seen it. It hits a lot of buttons for me. It hits a lot of check boxes for something I would be interested in watching, and then watching it is just weird, and it never stops being weird. And I wanted to have you guys watch it because it's like, you know how sometimes when you have an infectious idea and you need to spread it to other people,
right?
It's like that, but with my friends and movies.
Right. So
And
mind
I wanted
herpes.
you guys to watch it. So I liked it a lot the first time I watched it, and I liked it actually probably more the second time I watched it.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
I think it's great. So we'll start out positive because I feel like we're gonna have a little bit of a downhill coming up.
I'm sort of seeing how it's gonna go. So I'll go next, and we'll
Yeah,
keep our
yeah, yeah.
trajectory going at a steady pace down to the ground.
Yeah.
So I felt like this movie was a poorly written, banal execution of an awesome idea.
Yes.
Okay.
I like so I don't mean to say that like I disliked this movie. I definitely didn't dislike it, but I felt like I really loved this idea of like a meteor landing, like something from outer space landing, and like it being toxic in a way that we can't even conceive. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like whenever people talk about aliens and stuff, like the reason why when people are talking about like seeing aliens and they're always like grays, tall grays or whatever, I'm like, I know that's bull because there's no way that if there are aliens, they look at all like humans. They'd probably just be like a big fart cloud. You know what I mean? Like we have no
Yeah,
way
why
of
not?
knowing what they like the fact that they have like 2 legs and 2 arms and 2 eyes. Are you kidding me? Like even on our planet we barely have that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I like loved this idea that like this meteor like warps reality almost in time and all of this stuff. However, it was probably at exposition dump like number 6 that I kind of found myself going like I just like so I have a problem with horror movies other than I'm a enormous coward. So like without like ignoring that part, my biggest problem with horror movies is like there's always like this moment at the beginning where like things are nice. And when I was younger, that was always my favorite part. I was like, I always like the part when it's like daylight and everyone's alive and happy and living their lives.
Yeah.
But like as an adult now watching that, I'm like, just get to the thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't like let's not waste time with this. Like I don't want to know these characters. They're all gonna die, you know? Like let's start the like and so I felt like this movie had a lot of like sort of we just like sort of got to know this family and I was like, I don't really care about them and they're not interesting to me.
Okay.
And-
You're putting out exactly the thing I liked about it.
Really?
Yeah, is that you get all this time with the family.
Uh-huh.
So the horror to me feels heavier
Yeah.
because you've spent time with this family.
Well, I guess
like
the time that I spent didn't feel well spent because I didn't find
Okay.
myself connecting to the family at all.
I think part of that is because they don't act like a normal family.
Yeah, they were
they
just
talk
like-
to each other very strangely.
it felt very written. Like the way that everyone spoke to each other was very much like, you know, it was a lot of like, hello, brother of mine who I've known since I was born. This is the house that we live in with our mother and our father. Our little brother is over there too. This is Sam, our dog. You know what I mean? Like it was like a lot of like, it would be like if every time I talked to Craig, I'd be like, hello there, Craig. It's good to see you. You and I are now friends. I hope that I hope you're doing well since the last time we recorded the podcast together that we do with our other mutual best friend, Phil Kessel. Also, by the way, I just thought I'd mention that we were both in band. Anyways, bye. And then I like laughed.
I mean, that is what you do, though.
I do
if
that
we're
every time.
Being clear here,
And
yeah.
every time you say, "Will you shut up? My children are sleeping. Why are you shouting?"
You just enter the room and just start.
Screaming that in your house.
Yeah.
So that being said, I really liked how weird it was, though. Like I loved, like I think I loved the last third of the movie, like 6 times more than I liked any other moment of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it was just I liked the weird. I wanted it to be weirder almost, and I also. You know what? Why don't we hear from Craig first, and I'll kind of go into
Yeah,
my final
okay.
thoughts a little more. So we're going down.
Where are you taking us, Craig?
not any higher,
Okay.
unfortunately. So, I like this movie just fine, but there was just so many baffling moments in this, and the like you said, the way that it was written, and I wanted it to be more foreboding, and it didn't have that same feeling to it that I was really looking for.
It was a
Um,
little three boating.
yes.
That's right. Yeah. hmm
uh, and part of my problem is I read the short story,
Ah.
and I feel like if they would have just done a straight adaptation of that, and I'll get into that later, it would have built up a lot more of it. Um,
Interesting.
but
When did you
I'm
read the
having
short
a
story?
hard time. What's that?
When did you read the short story?
Uh, I've read it in bits and pieces over the last couple days, honestly. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
it's not very long. I'd
Oh,
say
okay.
probably about 25 30 pages. But yeah, I really like this this genre, um which is, gosh, now I can't, it's not paranormal. um
Lovecraftian horror, perhaps?
yeah, but what's the other word?
Cosmic.
Cosmic horror?
Cosmic horror. Yeah, sorry, my brain
I
isn't
only
working
talk
right now.
about it every episode.
I know, sorry. So I like cosmic horror. Phil, you and I have talked at length about this. Um and yeah, there's just other movies I think have done this better. um I think Nick Cage is exactly, I think he's about the best thing about this. And even when he's acting very unusual and all of a sudden becoming his dad, which apparently was Donald Trump.
When he started talking, I was like, is he doing a Donald Trump impression?
But there was I needed that steady hand at the beginning of the movie to lead me into the weirder stuff, and it was just too uh like I felt too much like I was watching a movie. I couldn't get fully immersed into it
Yeah.
in order for me to
like-
really okay, everything is going wrong now with this family that is feeling aggrieved. It just felt like a sitcom where they randomly had a zombie episode.
Yeah. Well, that was like, so the one of the first moments where I was like, was the main girl who's got a strange name,
Lavinia.
Lavinia,
Yeah.
is like performing a Wiccan ritual, and this other guy, whose name I also didn't care to look up,
Ward.
Ward. Thank you, Phil.
I got you.
Walks up and is observing her do this Wiccan ritual, and I guess I can't quite remember exactly what happens, but he interrupts it kind of. And she's basically talks down to him and like, you wouldn't understand what it is. And then he says like, what are you doing? Is it Alexandrian or Wiccan? And she's like, oh, well, you should know that it's Alexandrian. And sort of like this weird moment where it's like, oh, he knows what you're talking about. And it was like this moment where she's like, oh, I see something in you that I didn't see before. But it was also like, why does he know that? You know what I mean? It just felt weird that he would just suddenly be like, and it just, I don't know. It was just like it was like, if it just, that was one of the moments where I was like, huh? Like, and I felt like characters were kind of sort of making choices like that throughout it. Like even at one point, I'm trying to remember, there was another moment, but one of the moments was like the brother and the sister, and this is a little bit later, were like standing and they were talking, and suddenly her phone started ringing, and they were like, what is that? What is it? And they like walked over, and it was like, it's my phone. And I was just like, what? What? Yeah, you didn't recognize your own phone. It was just weird. It was like, and there's a fine line between like strangeness and like a bad execution. And I felt like I had a hard time figuring out if like this was deliberate strangeness or just like bad writing. And I think like I throughout the film, and again, like I said, I did like the last third a lot more than I did the first part. But at least the first third, I was sort of like, boy, I don't care about this. No, not so much, but Phil, it's your turn to talk now, I think.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, do you
man.
want to give us a general synopsis?
Oh, yeah.
So we have this family, the Gardners, with Nick Cage as the dad, and then Lavinia as the daughter, and then the other three
Yeah,
kind of don't
I
matter
wrote down
quite as much.
I wrote down her name was Live in Your Gardeners. I was like, what did she say?
100%. Live in your Gardeners. So they are living in Nick Cage's father's on his in his old house. He's dead at this point, or is he? We don't know. He's dead.
Irrelevant either way.
Yeah, irrelevant either way, I guess. I mean, maybe you could argue the end it's a little relevant. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so they're living in this sort of farmhouse, kind of in the middle of nowhere. In the sticks. They keep saying in the sticks. And at some point, very bright fuchsia magenta meteorite crashes in the front yard. And then it's weird. And then the mayor's there, and the mayor is very rude for some reason that they never explain.
Yeah, that was she's like, I should have bought, you should have sold me to this place when I tried to buy it. And I was like, oh, there's another exposition dump. It was just this weird, I'm inserting drama here. And it felt like,
I think what they were going for, so there's almost no backstory given. I feel like there's almost no backstory given to any individual character. You get it through them talking to each other, and sometimes it's exposition dumpy, and sometimes it's maybe a little bit more subtle than that. I feel like it gets really awkward sometimes between characters, because you're like, I don't know what am I supposed to be feeling between these two people? You're explicitly telling me, but I'm not sure that's right.
yeah, right. So you're like, so when they're like, you're my enemy, they literally say we don't get along in this movie. And so you're left going wait, do they really not get along? Or is that some sort of weird, no, they really just don't get along. So why did they say it? I felt like a lot of that was happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Also, when it happened, you're like, why is the mayor there? The first person to arrive is
The
the
first
mayor
person
of
there is the
town.
mayor.
Yeah, he walks out, he's like, well, the sheriff and the mayor are here. I'm like, what's the mayor doing here? And then it was also funny because everyone's looking at it. They're like, gosh, I cannot figure out what that is. And then the one hydrologist walks up and he's like, oh, that's a meteorite. They're like, it fell from the sky. And I was like, wait a minute. Nobody realized that?
The fact that also
They're
they're
in the
like,
sticks.
hey,
How?
college boy, come look at this.
Yeah.
Every single person is just like, hey, science
Yeah.
stuff.
You got your degree
Oh
in
yeah, he's a
aquifers.
hydrologist,
Yeah.
and they're like, what do you know about this other scientific field?
And he's like, well, it's
Yeah, and
clearly a
he's like,
meteor.
oh yeah, no problem.
And they're like, oh, I thought it came up from the ground and exploded. Why would you think that? What on earth would make you think that? What else would do this?
So Ward, the hydrologist, he starts testing the groundwater, and his test strip turns a color. They never tell us exactly what that means, but it's bad. So he tells the gardeners not to drink the water, but it's too late. They've already all started drinking the water. The youngest kid starts to become obsessed with the well that the meteor landed right next to, and he keeps talking about a friend in the well. There's a bunch of plants that start growing. The mom, this is where it starts to go a little off the rails. The mom is preparing dinner, and then she cuts off 2 of her fingers.
Yeah.
Which was
Didn't
gross
like
to
that
watch.
part. I didn't like that
You know,
part. Craig can
I
attest
didn't think you would.
that I squirmed the whole time because I knew it was happening, and it was embarrassing for me. And he just looked at me the whole time.
The whole time.
So
Oh, you forgot the part where he's the water guy is like, hey, does anyone else live on your property? He's like, oh yeah, there's a squatter out back.
It was like, no one else lives here. Well, I mean, there is our squatter, Ezra. It was
Yeah.
just sort of like,
It's like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
who?
I mean,
What?
now in my defense, technically, that never actually happened. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, so they go and meet the guy who's squatting on the property. That guy is just weird in general.
By the
he's
way,
already been drinking the water. Yeah.
The best performance was Tommy Chong. I think I was like, I believe
Yeah.
that this guy's
He
a
was-
crazy
He's
man.
great.
I liked
Yeah.
him the most.
He was really good
He had a
in
cat.
that role.
He had a cat named G Spot. I liked that the teenage boy thought
That
was
was
the teenage
very
boy
funny.
thought that was hilarious, and the hydrologist was like, okay, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, that felt very correct.
Because that's what I would have
Yeah.
been like. I've been like, oh yeah, ha ha ha. Oh, and we lost G Spot. Okay, all right. It's
Yeah.
not very hard to. Never mind.
Anyway, so Nick Cage takes the wife to go get her fingers sewn back on. So they rush to the hospital, which is like really far away because again they're in the sticks. While this is happening, the kids at some point try and contact Nick Cage, but it doesn't go through. And then somebody's like yelling at them over the phone, but it's all staticky and weird. And then on the other end, Nick Cage can't hear them. It's a whole thing.
I thought that was I like that part.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that was
yeah.
a nice
Yeah.
update to the story.
What happens next? I'm on the Wikipedia because it's
Yeah.
it gets everything starts to move. I feel like really quickly
Yes.
at
yeah.
this point.
So
So I think they get back. Nick Cage gets really mad at the kids, which is uncharacteristic of him. He starts talking in that weird sort of Trump accent.
yeah,
that
he
is
does like
supposed to be
this
his
weird
dad's accent.
this weird affectation, and I'm assuming that that's what his father sounded like or his idea, but it
He-
sounds like
he
it sounds
does-
like Trump.
He does an imitation of his dad at the beginning of the movie
Yeah.
for like a split second, talking about how like, oh, you're never gonna be a painter, Nathan,
Yeah.
or something like that. So then when he starts doing it later in the movie, you're like, oh, that's really weird. But it's his dad.
Yeah.
Is something that's coming out in him being on
well,
his property. With
the other thing that's weird about it is
whatever.
it's Nick Cage. So instead of like committing like 30% at the start and like sort of like easing us into this new persona, he gives it 110%. So he just suddenly on a dime is Donald Trump and then back to the character. So it's just
Yeah,
sort of like
yeah.
it's sort of like every time I see Nick Cage in a movie, I'm like, is Nick Cage a good actor? And then I go, you know what? I think that's the wrong question.
I
the que-
agree.
I think the question is, am I having a good time? And the answer is yes. So who cares?
That's exactly why I like him so much. Is that it doesn't matter. Like he's just doing it so different. You can't say he's not the most entertaining thing on screen
No.
when he's on screen.
No, he always is.
He always is, and that's what I love about him. So Lavinia uses a copy of the Necronomicon to try and do another ritual to save her family. So she cuts a bunch of symbols into her hands and into her forehead. And then
Oh, it's the animals.
it's
happen.
the animals.
Yeah, okay. Well, we don't necessarily need to go through every point of this movie, right?
That's fair. A bunch of crazy stuff starts
yeah,
happening.
like so
the
basically
animals in the barn like fuse together and it's weird.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
at one point, the mom and the youngest son fuse together, and it's so awful.
It is
Yeah.
awful.
It is
Awful.
so
Didn't like that.
so unsettling and terrible to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they bring her inside and they try and like take care of them, and then they bring her upstairs and then they try and take care of them, and then Nick Cage decides he needs to take care of them. But then he immediately decides to not take care of them. If you're
Yeah.
getting what I'm saying, listening, he decides he's going to kill them, and then he goes up and he's like, no, actually, I'm not. I'm
yeah,
going
it's because
to
he's flipping
find
between.
my daughter and feed her to
Yeah.
her mother.
Yeah.
Feed your mother.
That's what happened.
He says it. He
Yeah,
says
he
it.
does
He says,
say it.
feed your mother.
Yeah. But yeah, no, and so eventually, like, everyone just dies, right? Like, I mean, the our main character, sort of, I guess, the everyman, I guess, that is the hydrologist who realizes something must be wrong and like goes in to check on them, basically, and what he finds is a nightmarescape, you know, where everyone is like. Nick Cage is like gone crazy, and upstairs the mother is turned into some scorpion monster, you know, the Thing monster, and then of
Mhm.
course Nick Cage comes and shoots him, and then they go back downstairs. But this is a question for you: like, what happened with Nick Cage's character? Because Nick Cage goes to pull up his gun to shoot at what did he try to shoot
He's
at?
trying to shoot at Ward
Yeah.
to stop him from taking Lavinia, and then the sheriff that's with them shoots him.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and then she decides. Then she's like, Lavinia's like, I'm gonna stay, and then they go and they meet Tommy Chong, who's died. So essentially, everyone dies, right? Everyone dies in the end. If you want to know more, like, watch the movie. But so okay,
Ward doesn't die.
Ward's the
Yeah,
only one
Ward
who doesn't die, except for he like fall. Did he fall off the bridge at the end? It looked like he fell off the bridge when I was watching it.
I don't think so. He just
Looked like he fell off of it. Veronica came downstairs and was talking to us during this part, so maybe I missed it. But anyways, so the reason
I also blame Veronica for a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So do I. In our house, it's just Veronica. Whenever anything goes wrong,
Yeah.
we don't do that. Don't tell her I said that. So what made me start to like this movie was that when I realized that it is like this movie is about, and I don't know if this was the intent, but it's what I'm taking it as. This is what it's like to be a father. This is fatherhood in a movie. So first off, Nick Cage's character doesn't want to become his dad, and yet he can't stop becoming his dad, right? He moves all of his family out to the sticks, and he buys alpacas because they're the animal of the future, which is clearly a financial mistake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like he's trying to keep his kids in order, and he can't. Like his son keeps screwing up, right? From his point of view. Now, if you're watching the movie, you know that there's something else at work here. And then his wife is also like trying to live her life, but she can't, you know? And then at one point, like she's even like comes downstairs and she's like, you need to fix the dish for the router. And I was like, none of those words make sense. But she's upset and he's just going like, I'm going to fix it. I'm like, because routers don't come from a dish. Am I wrong?
You can get internet from the satellite.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, but it's still just like he's got to fix her problem. Her problem is becoming his problem. And it's because he brought them all out here. And then like later on, like his wife he's like always trying to keep people upbeat throughout the whole thing. And like he's just like, yeah, no, it's fine. But he's slowly becoming his father, which I relate to. And at one point, his wife and his youngest son, the baby of the family, fuse into one person. Like anyone who is married and had a baby, you're sort of like watching that and going like, no, I get that. Because like, you know, like they do sort of, and it's just, and then like at one point, like the moment that made me realize that it was a movie about being a father was when he was in the car and the car wasn't starting and like everything is just like going wrong. And I was like, this movie sees me. This movie sees me, you know, like, and like later on when he's like invented his happy family, you know, and he's like, this is all of them. See, they're all here. Nobody's hurt. Everyone's fine. We're all fine. I was like, oh man, this is like speaking right to my
Is your family
experience.
in the room right now, Will?
Yeah, they're all right here. They're all smiling at me. They're all giving me big thumbs up. None of them are criticizing me. No one's saying, Daddy, go away. They're all saying, Daddy, stay here. I love that you're here, Daddy.
The funniest part of the whole movie is the TV reporter coming by,
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
and she's like, "Oh, do you do you drink often? And he's like, oh, I've been known to have some whiskey. I really, and he keeps talking about that. And so the whole graphic changes to like amateur farmer, professional,
whiskey drinker
kind
or
of
something.
whiskey drinker connoisseur.
Yeah. That scene was definitely undercut by the fact that the mother was very clearly going to chop her own fingers off in the background. And I was like, I would be enjoying this if this wasn't
Yeah.
also happening. And I have to look away now because I'm a coward.
So can I talk about the book for just a minute?
Please.
Okay.
All right, 1 minute on the clock.
Okay. So the whole thing is told as if it's a past event. You have a neighbor who kind of acts as the Ward character, who keeps kind of checking up on this family. And there is actually a character very early on that is Ward. That is because they're going to be they're flooding the valley where the house is.
Yeah.
And so it becomes known this is where this place is an evil place now. And so there's a lot of buildup on like the way that H.P. Lovecraft talks about where they live is very eerie, and it kind of sets the tone. And then you go back into the past. They call this the bad times. Everybody who lives in Arkham, which is a, pretty
Arkham is like H.P. Lovecraft.
H.P. like that's where everybody is.
Sorry, Craig, your minute is up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So
I'll give you a little bit more time.
Oh,
Okay. So it's the same kind of thing though, where the meteorite comes and for a little bit everyone's paying attention to the Gardner family, and it's the husband, the wife, and they have 3 boys. But vegetation starts getting going wrong, and everything becomes like colorful, but then it turns gray and brittle. And all their animals start going crazy, and their kids eventually start going crazy, and like one of them just disappears, and then another one gets really sick, and then they kind of turn into a gray blob, and then they like disintegrate. Same thing, like all this like awful stuff is happening, and like nobody, because they're out, it's Arkham's out in the middle of nowhere, so like if you talk to anyone in the city, they're like, oh, this is just farmers just making up stories, so nobody believes that anything wrong is happening. And so this neighbor keeps trying to check up on them, but he's getting even more scared, and he doesn't want to be around them because he's convinced this meteorite is making them all incredibly sick, and they're drinking the water, and there's obviously something wrong with it. But there's like color coming from the well, and the husband eventually, he's the only one left, and he's like the monster that you see at the end of the movie with the mom and the kid. Turns out like 2 of the kids were in the well. They just like launched themselves in there, and they were just skeletons, and other animals had like launched themselves in. And then when the people come to investigate the house after everyone dies, the color just like shoots out of the well and goes up into space, but there's like a little bit of it that stays in there. And so they know that there's still some part of the alien life form that's still there. And so like everything around it is gray and dead though. So they're going to flood the valley just to be rid of it. So that's the general gist of it.
Honestly, I mean, from what you're saying, I feel, I don't know. I feel like I got to read it, but I also don't want to read anyways. I just want to say we do get an image from
Wait,
the
Phil.
color.
Phil,
What?
you don't want to raid
I don't want to
something by H.P. Lovecraft?
Okay, if we're going to get into this, let me just start this out. Anyone listening, if you don't know about H.P. Lovecraft at this point, I took a quiz online called Hitler or H.P. Lovecraft, and you got a quote, and you had to decide which one said the thing. I got almost all of them wrong. He's such a horrible, horrible, horrible racist and xenophobic, bigoted asshole. And it sucks because I love this genre so much, but the more I was texting you guys about this, the more I watch of this genre, at least at one time, I need to take a break from it and I'll come back because I think there's still value in this genre. I think it's still fun. I think it's still cool and interesting.
So
I think it needs to be rebranded.
yeah,
But the more that I've been
I think what's interesting is the branding exists this way because H.P. Lovecraft is in the public domain. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so people can adapt his works however much they want, even though in adapting his work, they are creating and synthesizing his ideas and taking what they want from it. So like
it's getting harder and harder for me to separate like
but I think you can do that
no,
because
I think you absolutely can.
yeah,
I think
'cause
it's just
not like
for
you're
me
reading
personally.
H.P. Lovecraft. You're watching movies made by people who are inspired by H.P. Lovecraft, but because H.P. Lovecraft is in the public domain, like other people who make animated movies couldn't say this is a Disney-like because Disney's not in the public domain, but H.P. Lovecraft is.
Yeah, and they'll never let that happen.
Yeah, right. But H.P. Lovecraft is, so you can just say as a shorthand, this is an H.P. Lovecraft sort of thing, and you're fine legally. But like that doesn't necessarily mean that like you're reading H.P. Lovecraft and you're going like, this is what he would have wanted. You know what I mean?
No,
It's
I know.
to
I
me,
just
it's
mean
just
like
sort of a shorthand to sort of get an idea across. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying you shouldn't feel as guilty as you do for liking
oh,
this stuff.
I don't feel guilty. It's
Okay.
just like for me personally, it's hard for me to consume it because the more I've been watching of it, like in like a quick succession,
Yeah.
it's just like anytime they mention I watched the Into the Deep or whatever it was. I think the Deep Ones or something like that. I mentioned it on last episode. There's like an impregnation of a character. I think it's called miscegenation, where it's like an alien baby and a human. Anytime there's that, anytime there's like, hey, here's this thing that I fundamentally can't understand, and it's evil. Every single time it's that, my brain is like, oh, yeah, because he thought that about black people.
Mm.
Every single time I see it now, I'm like, oh,
Right, but
and I
you have
can't
to
get it out of my head. And I
Yeah.
know I don't feel that way, and I know the people making these movies don't feel that way.
You're right.
Probably, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
But it's been hard consuming a lot of it all at once. Like it's an overload where like
interesting.
you see all of these similar things and you know that they're from this same guy whose vibe on these topics was real bad.
Sure.
Which is why
yeah.
I want to rebrand this as religious horror.
Hmm.
Because what's more cosmic horror than religion?
Hmm.
Hey, I'm Phil. I'll see myself out now.
So for an alternative person,
Yeah.
I can recommend Algernon Blackwood. Phil and I were talking about this.
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
That is the coolest name
I know.
on the planet.
Algernon.
Hello, my
Algernon.
name's Algernon.
I've only heard of one
Blackwood.
other Algernon.
And
I'm
it's
pretty
the
sure.
flowers
I was
for?
about to say, pretty sure it was a mouse.
Yeah. So he wrote. I have a couple of his books, but he wrote a short story that I like a lot. It's called The Willows, and it actually comes up in this movie. He's holding. Ward is carrying a copy of it
Oh, yeah, that's
around
right,
that he was reading. So that's about two guys on the Junabe River, and they are pretty sure there is something very big and very scary, like some big invisible force following them as they go down
Ooh.
the river that's coming out of the forest. So it's very good. I don't know all his dirty laundry, so
Well, right, but so I
Man,
think it's interesting,
everybody's
Phil, that you
shitty.
bring up religion in the sense that like fiction isn't religion, though. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to accept all of the thing about.
I mean,
the
instead of the
person.
cosmic horror to like move it or
No, no,
Lovecraftian horror
right.
to move it further away.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I'm just saying like it isn't religion in the sense that like in religion you have to take the source into account in this, like, whereas fiction is like you can it becomes yours at a certain point, right? Like so if you really like something that is problematic, that doesn't necessarily like, or written by a problematic person, that doesn't make you, that doesn't mean anything, because you've put your own purpose onto this thing. You are you're in charge of
Yeah.
how you feel about this. It's not like it's not a religion. It's not prescriptive in the sense that like these are the dogmas you must follow because you like this thing or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I
No,
think it's
I know what you're
perfectly
saying.
fine.
I
just,
think
this,
what
I get
I'm
that.
trying to say is I would like to just erase Lovecraft.
Sure, but it has.
And I know you can't do that.
Yeah,
but
well,
like,
so here's the thing. When I say when people say Lovecraft, I think of Cthulhu. I think of all these ideas. I understand immediately what people are talking about. What I don't think of is a man named H.P. Lovecraft. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's sort of that's
I mean,
part,
fair enough.
like. So I'm not saying that like what you're saying isn't also correct. I'm just saying that like.
What you're saying is I'm wrong and I'm dumb.
No,
and I
you're
should
not
feel
wrong.
bad.
No, you're not wrong. Is all I'm saying. Like the reason why these things exist the way that they do is because marketing matters and is effective. So if I want to very quickly get across what I'm trying to create, if I say it's a Lovecraftian horror, immediately everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that doesn't necessarily
for sure.
mean that like I'm
The
going like
name
black
has
people are
transcended-
terrible or something, or whatever
Yeah,
you were saying he said. Yeah.
The name in the genre has transcended the guy, and I totally
Yes, yeah.
get that. It's just I just went too hard on the genre, and then I hit an overload point.
Yeah.
And all I can say to that is
I've had it with your drama.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah.
Are we there? Are we ready to give this movie a rating? Because I feel like we've gone completely off the rails at this point.
Yeah.
Like Phil and I are
Isn't
just
that-
like ranting about philosophical ideas about like authors versus media. Anyways,
yeah. Okay, let's start. Okay, here's the order I want to go in, and fight me on it if you want, but it's happening. Craig, Will, me. Okay, so Craig, where are you sitting on this one?
I'm gonna give this movie 3 out of 5 slam dunk. That's when he
Yes.
throws the tomatoes into the trash.
Yes. Yes.
And this is literally, I'm using my scale. I feel like I use a little bit of a I do a grading curve when it comes to the podcast. I tend to rate things a little higher than I normally would.
because
Because
but-
you're around your friends and you don't want them to judge you.
Yeah, basically.
I'm just such a meanie when you go against what I say.
Yes, that's it. All those things. No, I like this movie. A 3 is a movie that I enjoyed, but it wasn't like something I'm probably gonna ever revisit. And I know that there is a better version of this movie out there. Like I said, I feel like if they really would have hit the more foreboding aspects of it, and I just think there's different ways of doing it. I didn't like the lightning bolt thing.
Lightning
That
bolt
was where it comes out and it makes them all fuse together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was very, very weird. I didn't like that, but I don't know. I just felt that you could have it leaned away a little bit too much from the horror part until like the very end. I felt like they could have really built up some more suspense into it.
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of I'm agreeing with Craig in a lot of ways. I really liked the idea. I liked it more when I sort of like decided it was about fatherhood, which I don't think it is. But I was like, hey, I can relate to some of this ideas. So I'm gonna give this movie a 3. Tree got the sheriff, but he did not get the hydrologist. Out of 5.
I like that. That was very good.
It's embarrassing for me.
I feel like it's clear that I liked this more than you guys. That's totally fine. This is the second time I've seen it. I liked it more on this watch. I like a lot about this movie. I think it's just a fun ride.
See, this is
There's
why
a-
we have you on, Phil, because you're the wild card.
I'm the
Yeah.
wild
You're
card.
like, I'm not going to use. I'm just
I'm
gonna.
not going to use any logical scale
I'm
to
just
judge
the
this.
vibes, man.
I'm a vibes
man.
guy. That is
Vibing
all
it.
I am.
Tell me, yeah.
Jonathan Barkin of Dread Central. There's a quote here from him that I really enjoy. Gorgeous, vibrant, and terrifying. Then he goes on to say, it's not perfect, but goddamn is it a wild ride. And
I
I
agree.
really like that quote. I think that's a fair, for me, I think this is a 4 out of 5. Alpaca hydras. No, a 4 out of 5. Everybody loves ducks.
I think
I really enjoy this
maybe
movie.
I think maybe 4 is probably more correct. I think, yeah, I did find myself really liking the ideas in this movie, but I felt
That's
like,
where I'm at. I'm a vibes guy.
yeah,
I
don't
like
know.
the vibe of this
no,
movie.
3 is right. 3 is right. Craig,
No,
you're right.
yeah.
Phil's
I
an
think it's
idiot.
totally fair. You guys are leveling very fair criticisms against this. This was never going to be below a 4 for me. Weird stuff and Nick Cage combined. Listen, maybe it's cliche, but I love Nick Cage. You know, he's
I
a
haven't
fun
heard
guy
you say
to
that
watch.
before,
This
but
is a
that's cool.
fun
Cool to learn that
movie
about you.
to watch. I had fun on a second watch, and that's a big deal.
So I suppose it is now my turn to tell you
Oh,
what we're gonna
the
watch
other one I was
next.
going to do was 4 out of 5 dial tones on a cell phone because that
Yeah.
happened
Oh,
2
yeah.
separate times,
Yeah,
and that's dub.
it is one of those things where you're like, when was this movie written? Interesting. Or how old was the person?
It took the director 20 years to write it because he didn't do like anything for 20 years.
Yeah. And his other movie we watched.
Yes,
It was The Island of Dr. Moreau. So I don't think
I don't
this is
see him credited on that movie.
He's
Was
not.
he kicked off of it?
He
Yeah.
certainly was, and he was hiding out in the woods, and actually,
Oh, that's right. That's
yeah,
right.
he came back on set as like an extra a couple times, and they realized it was him, and they
Mhm.
kicked him off.
Weird.
What Went Wrong does a great episode on the Island of Dr. Moreau. You should all listen to it, and the insanity that was that.
Surprise recommendation.
I want to just
Surprise.
mention the other movie that like his probably other most famous movie that he did. It's called Hardware. And by famous I mean I think
Infamous.
he hasn't done a lot of movies, but it's about a robot, a killer robot who built itself out of like household implements and kills people. So
I love
take
that.
that what you will.
I love that.
All right, so next month it's my turn. So guess what? We're gonna watch Waterworld.
Oh, wait, are we
Jack
gonna watch?
will be thrilled.
Oh, are we gonna watch the Waterworld stunt show at Universal Studios, which is still currently going, much
Are you
later
sure?
than it should?
Is it still going? I thought it ended.
Yeah.
No, it's still going?
No,
Okay, well then we're
still
definitely
going.
watching that. No,
Yeah.
we're gonna watch the movie Waterworld. This is one of those movies that like everyone says is terrible. And I remember watching it when I was like in my Mad Max sort of like era of post-apocalyptic stuff and going like, this movie is fine. It's not terrible, but it's
Yeah.
like I feel like it's actually kind of fun.
That is
and, like,
exactly how I feel
crazy.
about the movie.
And yeah, and so like I feel like it has a horrible rep as being this terrible movie, and I don't think that's true. But I haven't seen it in a few years, so who knows? I might change my mind. But I just thought it'd be a fun change of pace, and I want to see
Yes.
Dennis Hopper losing his mind in another movie. I don't think we've
Yes.
gotten enough of that.
We do need more.
We do definitely need more. Yeah.
Now, I think with that movie, it was so widely reported that things were going wrong, like just whole sets being destroyed, working with kids, working with animals. It's like
So-
everything that could go wrong did
Yeah,
go wrong.
working
people
on
were
the
like,
water is impossible. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like anywhere you would
Yeah, 'cause
shoot,
you
you're
can't
like,
swim.
so well, it's also like, okay, like we're gonna shoot on the water, and it's like, well, where? It's like, well, we're gonna go out in the water, it's because like otherwise we'd see the shore in the shots, and it's so they had to like move everything so that you don't see the shore because it's supposed to be a world of water, so you can't see. Anyways, again, What Went Wrong? Great podcast. They talk about how
Yep.
how it was created. Recommend checking
Surprise
that out.
recommendation.
Once again.
The answer, what went wrong? A hurricane.
Yeah. Yeah, among other things. All right. So that's what we're gonna watch next.
Yeah.
Yes.
Suck it, everybody. Who doesn't want to do that?
I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook. If you want to recommend any different kind of horror movies to Phil so he doesn't get tired of what he's currently been looking at. So
Yeah. Do it.
Yeah, he doesn't whine about H.P. Lovecraft anymore. This episode was brought to you by Jack
Once
Kessel.
again, I've made you defend something horrible.
Oh, every time we have a podcast,
It's my favorite thing.
I'm on the side of the bastard.
yeah.
God damn it. No, this episode was brought to you by Jack Kessel. This is your fault.
Woo!
If you are interested in hearing your name shouted at it and want to help support us, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/mumbleandtrug.
Wait, sorry, I missed it. Who sponsored this one?
Your wife.
My wife.
If you like what you heard, consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play.
Actually, you know what? I'm looking at it right now. We just lost all of our Patreon subscribers.
Damn it.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
because
including
of
us.
the second my wife is what did it. So I'm sorry. Continue doing what you were doing.
I gotta get that one louder. It's so hard to hear.
Yeah. It is.
If you like what you heard, no, I already did that. That's all for this episode. I'm Phil Kessel.
Yeah, I'm Will Chavez.
And I'm Craig Norland.
You don't get a lot of milk from an alpaca.
Wasn't that right after he called the breast or the
Boobs.
udders boobs? And I was
Yeah,
like,
he said you gotta be real gentle with the.
he's like, you got to be real
Boobs.
gentle with the boobs. And I was like, I hate that for you. I hate that you said that.
I bet that was not in the script.
I
I
bet-
am
He's
100%.
I would love
sure.
to
It's
see
like,
the script
why-
versus.
why
the
would I say
transcript of what
udders?
was said?
They're alpaca boobs. Why would I say udders? I'm gonna call them boobs. That's what they are. I know them
Are
as
you
boobs.
Owen
you
Wilson
know them
now?
as boobs. It's pretty close. I'm working on it.
Wow.
Wow, these are
Wow.
boobs.
That's
Yeah,
alpaca
it is. It is.
boobs.
Oops.
He does kind of have that. Like, sort of like-
Ciao.
yeah, not quite though. Like not my voice. Someone else's voice doing that. That would be a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
impression if my voice had a different timbre to it. Never mind.
Timber.
All right, we're done. Brought to you by Mumble and Shrug Productions.